Well, guys, the Dallas Cowboys' lowest graded defenders this year per PFF, Mozzie Smith came in at dead last at 34.8. That's red. That's if anyone's not familiar with the PFF colors, you're peeing out blood right now. Is that red? The second worst ranked was draft pick Kalen Carson, who came in at 39.7 cornerback. Then our third and fourth worst were Maurice Leofau at 50.1 and Marshawn Nealon at 50.8. So all four of those guys, Mozzie being the first pick of last year or 2 years ago draft, and then the other three all drafted this season, all playing terribly. So you talk about the Cowboys not going all in or picking anyone up at free agency, but then they're also hamstringing themselves in the draft by drafting guys that didn't exactly pan out. So I mean, I don't think Maurice Leofau's grade's that fair because I think he kind of came on around the end of the season. But you got Kalen Carson, who sucked, Marshawn Nealon, who didn't play very well, and then Mozzie Smith, who's been just a pitiful example of a player.
And another thing is, stop with the damn training camp hype. Mozzie Smith, Tyler Guyton, Kalen Carson, all of those guys were, they're world beaters at training camp. And what happens in the season? They're not good. It's like, stop trying to hype people up whenever they're practicing against their own team. Like, what are we doing right here? I hate that. It's always been a thing where I'm like, what are we doing? Kalen Carson, I kind of fell into it because I really liked his film coming into, the draft and whatnot. And then we took him, and where we took him, I was like, this could be a player. Now, throwing in, I think he was fifth round rookie, and asking him to be a starting cornerback against, your division, especially where you got dogs, Malik Neighbors, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, like probably a recipe for disaster. They're probably going to attack him a lot. Not having Bland out there hurts. And then basically when Bland came back, Diggs went out. So it was just like a wash in that respect. But Kalen Carson, I honestly don't understand why he was he had the shoulder thing. I think it was a shoulder thing. He came back too soon, hurt it, out 4 games, comes back too soon or whatever. Then he played 1 game, then he's out again. It's just like, what are we doing, man? I didn't understand it. Israel Mukuamu was bad this season as well. For all the people that are super stans of Israel Mukuamu, I don't understand these depth guys that people fall in love year after year at training camp, and then they come in and they're shown that they're not good. So I had to get my 2 cents out there.
No, I hear you, brother. And in Kalen Carson, I think I agree with you, but the expectation for him should be in now the next 2 or 3 years, and then seeing if he's worth extending that contract or not. I think, and I don't think you were trying to say that, he underperformed at all. You did mention but that's the expectation with that.
He was thrown to the Wolves. He was thrown to the Wolves.
He was just thrown in. And so what I did want to say, though, is Maurice Leofau. I sounded like AI.
Leofau.
Maurice Leofau.
Leofau. Yep.
I thought optically the last, say, 3, maybe 4 games after Overshown got injured and basically started in that game, he really came to play. And he only has a 50.1 here on PFF. And what I want to try to do here, and I will in a second, is look to see what his last few games were and see if that was right or not. But I don't know, EJ, did you feel the same way?
Scroll up on the meter and see if that 65 is his run blocking grade or his coverage grade, all the way to the top. I think you need to go.
It's this one here.
Well, AJ's going up. I will say something that hurt more than what I'll say hurt more than any loss of the season was the loss of Overshown. DeMarvion Overshown's injury news, I think that was worse than any Cowboys loss this year. Because he was the only, at the time, he was the only fun thing to watch on the defense.
Oh, yeah.
He was the only player playing with everything. So, but I do think Leofau stepped in nicely for him.
Can I mention something in the chat? Brent, the Packer fan, says Ben Johnson to Dallas, McCarthy to Chicago. Yeah, Ben Johnson is not going to come to the Cowboys. It's apparently his agent wants somebody to be there as the GM that also falls in line with what Ben Johnson wants to do. Jerry's not that guy, so Ben Johnson is completely out of the question for the Cowboys.
I don't think any of these young OCs or DCs are going to end up in Dallas. I just it's the worst thing you could do for your career. Dallas is the last, as a head coach, you're going there because you have no other choice in my mind, and you're kind of bending the knee to Jerry because you've already exhausted all your other stops. Like Mike McCarthy wasn't going to get a head coaching job at any other place other than Dallas, and by coming to Dallas, he had to play by Jerry Jones's rules. So
okay, hold that, sweet coach carousel chat. Let's finish looking.
Just everybody keep in mind, we're still on the intro right now.
No, yeah. No. We swapped out. I think we swapped over here.
Main event, boys.
Yeah, we swapped over here to the PFF grades. So, any surprises here on the top grades? I don't know. Anth, were you reading off a list, or were you just looking at the same thing?
No, are you talking about me? Did you ask me that?
Yeah, motherfucker, we're talking about you out of studio, bitch.
Sorry, I didn't hear what he asked.
Sorry, that came out of nowhere.
No, did you have a list that you were looking at, or were you just looking?
Sorry, no, I saw someone had posted it, and it was over 200 snaps is what I was looking at. So I was just looking at the bottom 4 players with 200 snaps plus.
Okay, well, these are our top defense by the defensive PFF grade here. So, anyways, we can look at anyone, or we can go look at offense now too and see what that looks like.
Well,
I mean, it's pretty disturbing that there's no other player higher than a 75. We only have one defensive player that really stood out, and it's no surprise that it was Micah Parsons. But it's kind of alarming, like past seasons when we're 12-5, you either had a Trevon Diggs balling out, or you had a Deron Bland balling out. You had DeMarcus Lawrence, who was always up in the high 80s the last couple of years. So for as well as the defense played, I'm surprised that, and I'm saying at the end of the season, it's surprising that we only had one guy above 75 in Micah Parsons.
I think also, sorry, EJ, just real quick, take into account this position rank too. Micah was 6th of 121 with 90 grade, and then Kendricks with a 75 grade was 13th of 83. So the linebackers might not be as high as the edges overall. And then even Jordan
Kendricks, by the way, I love Derek Kendricks on the team.
And Jordan Lewis is 25th of 116. So that's still pretty quality.
Guys, Ultra Cowboy is alive. He just made a comment in the chat. PFF is a joke. They rated Diggs at 50 and 21 when he had 11 interceptions. So yeah, we do take everything for a grain of salt, but it does give us context to have jump offs for the players, right?
Yeah.
Back, Ultra.
And again, Ultra is alive, so that's good.
What's up, Ultra?
Quality of life check.
Thank goodness. I've been praying for you, man. No, but from my understanding, apparently how PFF does their grades and stuff is they'll look at a play and they'll give you either 2 points, 1 point, or 0 points, from what I understand. And so the highest points, even if it's like a crazy play you could get, is 2 points per play, and that's how they come up with their grades. Eric Kendricks, to me, he was getting a bunch of 1s. Like, he was doing his job, but he wasn't doing it like all worldly, so I think his rating is a little bit higher than what I would give. Jordan Lewis, though, I really don't care what you do as a pass rusher at DB or run defense. Like, really, that's not your job. As long as you're tackling your guy and you're covering your guy, I'm fine with that. So I think he should be boosted up. Interested to see if you can scroll down to Donovan Wilson. I really, really want to see what he did, because he was terrible all season. Okay. Dang, his coverage grade was that high. That's insanity to me. Because I
think it was inflated at the end. I think it was inflated by the last few games. Start of the season, he was playing pretty rough,
pretty stinky.
Yeah, Demo even 48th. That's just crazy to me. I feel like he was so much better than that. But
that's what I mean. The PFF grades, we love them when they play into our narrative, but when it's a player that it doesn't, it's like, well, these aren't that great. But I trust my eye test, like you said. DeMarvian Overshown, to me, I don't care what his PFF grade says. He was the best defensive player for the Cowboys while Micah Parsons was out easily.
Yeah, and like, you think about it this way, is like Demo was getting tackles for loss, like 8-yard tackle for losses. And sometimes, like, sure, he overshot the gap and stuff like that, and then they got an extra 2 yards and the other linebacker had to clean it up. That's a negative on his part, and he probably got a 0 points on one play, but the negative 8 yards, that probably kills a drive. You know what I mean? So that should be weighted more than just 2 points, in my opinion. So that's why PFF is so weird with their ratings. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that they incorporate a lot of different factors into how they come up with two points or 1 point or 0 point. But either way, like we said, it's really that we just love to talk about piss, and then we use that metaphor when we're talking about these colors.
Yeah, what's orange? Too much Gatorade or what?
Oh no, just dehydrated.
Not enough Gatorade.
Like, look.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Mozzie Smith.
You've been drinking oil or something. If you're anything, if you're in orange to red, you're like you haven't drank anything in 10 days.
Red, you're dying.
Yeah, basically, Mozzie Smith here has been at a electronic music festival, and he's just been drinking GHB. He's not been drinking.
He's just been drinking what's out of the grease traps at Whataburger.
Yeah.
Dude, at one point in the season, Mozzie, Linval Joseph, and can't even remember his name, other homie from the Bills. They were all the third worst, second worst, and first worst defensive tackles in the league. I'm not even joking you. I have a picture on my Twitter. It was hilarious.
Well, let's have. I mean, what do you expect? Let's have a look at our offense here. See, and this is the thing. CeeDee Lamb, who had what I think was the low.
That grade is impressive for him because
I know
he was getting bracket covered. He was getting doubled more often than not because nobody's scared of our other weapons. You know what I mean?
Yep. 70. He was the highest grade for our offense at 77.3. Next to that was Tyler Smith at 75. You like to see that with your guard. Ranked 17th overall as well, which
top two guys are in the Pro Bowl. Not that means fuck all, but CeeDee Lamb and Tyler Smith both made the Pro Bowl.
And then Monte Turpin, don't forget my
and Turp.
But then we come to Rico Dowdle, who must have been listening in when our fantasy football, which reminds me, we got to talk fantasy football in the next show, but not this one. CanFan Fantasy Football. Congratulate our
next
new
time I actually need to draft my team in the league because I completely missed the draft.
Oh, that sucks, dude. Well, you know what? We'll start it a little earlier and try to plan a date where people can make time for it. But Rico, after that trade that you made with Anthony, it caused our long-term 25-year fantasy football league to go up in arms.
Yep.
Rico went off.
Yep. It's a great trade, in my opinion.
It's a great trade.
It's a great trade, in my opinion.
It worked out for both of us.
And I think, like,
so
if
EJ, just to give you a little backstory, just so that you have an idea what we're talking about. I traded 3 players to Adam, and he traded me Lamar Jackson, and one of the players I traded was Rico Dowdle. And our whole fantasy, besides AJ, the other 9 guys were going absolutely insane.
And they were pissed because of
calling for collusion.
You know what I remember is you sending me a trade offer, Jaden Daniels for Amari Cooper, and then you pulled the damn rug when I accepted it. What the hell is that about? Remember.
Dude, I was very bad in CanFan this year.
But I mean, and
is fine.
And at that point, the problem with Anth making that Devils trade that I call it now is his team was undefeated, and then when that trade happened, CMC got injured, so that was off the table. So he could have used Rico Dowdle, and then his team barely made playoffs, and he was out first round or something like that. So
there you go.
That's what happened.
Start of snakes, baby. Start of snakes.
It's weird because like Rico Dowdle is a guy that they brought back on the 1-year deal, and I said on Twitter, if you're going to bring back Rico Dowdle, sign him to a cheap 2-year deal with a third-year option kind of a thing. And I don't know if they do that in the NFL versus the NBA. I know they definitely do it in the NBA, but you could have had him locked up where you don't have to worry about him, and then running back doesn't seem like such a big need. Now he can go into free agency and be like, well, I'm just as good as this guy and this guy and this guy, and I ran behind a worse line with only one offensive weapon, and I was still doing pretty good when our one offensive weapon, CeeDee Lamb, was taken out, and they could stack the box, Mm-hmm. So I think that was a fumble by the Cowboys front office as well. Not like, even if it's just an extra $3 million you throw on the top of the contract, and you could have made that incentive based. Say he had done nothing, especially with the injuries he had in prior years. You could have made it all incentive based, and it's just yeah.
I just want to bring up a point to both of you guys, or all 3 of you guys. Ultra Cowboys shooting some stuff off in the chat. He says Cooper Beebe had better numbers than Pro Bowl Cam Jurgens. So we look at Cooper Beebe down there as center. How do you guys think? Start of the season, we were like, oh, Cooper Beebe, he's never played center before. He's center. How do we think someone like Cooper Beebe fared this season? And do we think that grade right there is warranted?
Well, the thing with Beebe started off a little shaky, but he had growth. Unlike the other offensive linemen that we took in the first round, Cooper Beebe got better as the season went on. He really did. He's a third round pick, right? You're going to have, and he was thrown into the fire. So I'm excited that we have our center next year. Like we can take at least that position off the draft need. I was rocking his jersey on week 18. So I'm a BB boy, and I'd like to see the growth that he had. And I think he's just going to get better and better with as the years go on.
One thing to point out. AJ. Yeah, one thing to point out here, guys, is just the placement of our offensive line. We got Tyler Smith with the 75 grade. Then Terrence Steele with a 67. So take these numbers for what you will. Brock Hoffman, 66. Zach Martin, 65. Cooper Beebe, 65. And then, hang on, I got to scroll down. Oh, sorry. There he is. Tyler Guyton last on the offense with 49.
Jonathan Mingo putting up some great numbers down there, too.
Mingo and Guyton. Well, Guyton took this prestigious honor of lowest PFF grade. But my point being, the rest of the offensive line, or the guys who are going to be there more than likely, all seem to perform fairly well, at least adequate, and that's good to see. One thing I really like to see, though, is Brock Hoffman's performance. And to answer your question about Cooper Beebe, I think I was really happy with how he played. I think he probably is going to really take a nice step moving into next season. I think he looks very comfortable, and he's got that quick agility, which hopefully he can take to the next level and learn how to utilize that. But I love how he snaps the ball too. It's sideways ball snapper. He has the ball sideways on the line, and then he just
long side
fucking snaps it. Anyways,
well, you did bring it. I want to get to Brock Hoffman next. I just want to hear what you guys think about Cooper Beebe, because you are right. Brock and Ant said it the last.
All of our line was
solid,
fairly average. Let's say,
hard to believe that Terrence Steele is ranked higher than some of our other guys.
Yeah, well,
it is what it is, right?
Yeah, the thing with Cooper Beebe for me was coming into the draft, and whenever I scouted him, I thought he was really good as a run blocker and getting out on those swings and stuff like that, and just putting linebackers in the dirt. And he needed some work with the power game and the pass blocking department. It was flipped on its head in the NFL, though. Better as a pass blocker than a run blocker, which is crazy. And Brock Hoffman, dude, for all the crap I said, hey, man, I don't know, they're just kind of talking him up. He played damn good. Yep. If he can cut down on the penalties, we got something in him. Honest to God.
I don't mind
with that.
I don't mind the penalties if it's going to change kind of a momentum or get people throwing back at you, having that kind of angry lineman.
Mean dude.
It's with the penalties that suck D is the fucking Guyton penalties, all the fucking bullshit false starts. That type of shit
pre-snap.
is pre-snap penalties. If you're
sticking up for your team, I think everyone gets one of those a game.
Yeah.
Did you guys?
You don't want to do it twice.
You know how Payne threw a punch at Hoffman last game? You guys remember that?
Yeah.
He punched him in the helmet. You know why he punched him in the head? There's video of Hoffman grabbed his dick.
Yeah, nice.
Actually,
grab his dick and twist it.
No, someone dubbed that. Someone dubbed that over the video. Grab his dick and twist it. He full on reach arounds him. And then the dude turns around, punches Hoffman, and then Hoffman points at him to the
That's crazy, bro.
Hoffman's
a dog, bro.
I like
more
Hoffman.
of those guys.
And the offensive line played better once Hoffman got into the rotation and was playing either center or guard. The offensive line started playing better. So
yeah. And another thing though is
sorry, EJ, this is a crack him for Hoffman's dick grab. Crack him if you got him.
Crack him if you got him, boys.
Grab him if you have him.
Grab him if you try. Grab him.
No, but Hoffman brought that mentality that I thought that Ferguson had, and it was not Ferguson took his level from up here down, way down this year, partly because of the injuries and stuff like that. But him without Dak, we used to say, was it Blake Jarwin? I think it was Blake Jarwin. Dak made Blake Jarwin is what we would, or not Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz. There you go. He made Dalton Schultz. I think that Dak and Ferguson are a little bit more, made together than what we kind of let on. Ferguson definitely needs Dak. And as far as the defensive tackle position, fun fact, Cooper Beebe actually was recruited to college as a defensive tackle. So, hey, they're talking about some two-way players with Travis Hunter coming in. Maybe we can use Beebe in some sets and defensive tackle or something, put him in there. No, kidding. But we've got something with Cooper Beebe for sure. Brock Hoffman showed a little bit. TJ Bass as well is another depth piece that showed some. And finally, thank the Lord, somebody poached Josh Ball off of our practice squad.
Oh yeah.
Thank
so we don't have to go down that.
We don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, we don't have to roll down that. Here you can see
Wingspan Willetsko still there though.
Yeah, Wingspan.
Get sound on this. Get sound on this.
Oh shoot. Okay, give me a quick sec.
Because this is the clip that I saw, and it's the soundbite is what EJ said.
That's funny, man.
Do you want me to go away from inside baseball with it? Okay,
yeah, just give me a quick sec here. I just got
So AJ's teeing up the Brock Hoffman PP touch. It was on Payne, and Payne turned around and threw a hook after, and we're like, "What are you doing? You can't punch." But someone grabs your dick, and I think punching's okay.
Completely warranted.
Restart.
Who comes in at the end? Is that Terrence Steele? Yeah, I always thought that was so weird because this is on a field goal. Terrence Steele plays on the left side and on field goals. I didn't realize that until this past week.
He ripped and twisted.
Well,
that's funny, man.
Here's the thing: you do what you got to do to piss off the other team. I don't want a full line of those guys, but I want one of them.
Yeah,
and it looks like Hoffman's that dude.
You need a wild card.
Yeah.
I think a wild card on the line is okay.
Yeah,
go down and check if Ferguson has a rating. I'm interested to see that.
Oh, he'll have a rating. There he is. So for tight ends, I think I'd love for the Cowboys to go out there and I don't know that the guy exists this year, but you just look at what some of these guys can do. Brock Bowers, obviously Kelsey, and then Trey McBride. Yeah.
George Kittle.
Laporta. The list goes on.
Mm-hmm.
You get one of those guys in there who essentially is just a receiver. Like his blocking ability, we're not really going to be using him in that position, or if it is, it's going to be very rare. Still like him and have size, but that's another option for helping out CeeDee Lamb, and then also enhancing the ability of the wide receivers that are on the team, as well as the running back situation. So I'm not against not moving on from Ferguson, but let's add another clone to the fire, right? Like. Let's see what can happen.
Sorry to cut you off. The Falcons actually picked up Kyle Pitts' fifth-year option. They pick at 14. We pick at 12. Drop back a couple spots. They give us Kyle Pitts. I would be for that because I personally think that you could at least use Kyle Pitts as a big X receiver, even if he doesn't work as tight end, and that could kind of aid you in that wide receiver problem you have. I know Kyle Pitts has been seriously underwhelming, but he hasn't had a quarterback like Dak Prescott, barring obviously that he is healthy coming back and whatnot, but we'll see.
You could bring Pitts in and he could carry guys' gear and stuff to and from the locker room. I mean, you need somebody to do that.
Exactly. Man.
Yeah, dude,
don't always put it all on Jonathan Mingo's shoulders. Come on, bring in Kyle Pitts. We need some locker room guys.
Well, I do want to
that can carry multiple pads.
Well, multiple pads. I do want to see Mingo with someone like Dak. I mean, obviously when you have Vanilla Rush or broken down car rush throwing a Mingo, we're not really seeing that type of.
I agree. I would love to see Jonathan. We were looking at him in his draft year, and I'd love to see him do well.
Yep.
It's just a very Cowboys thing to be like, oh, we're gonna wait and see how this player develops this year,
I know.
and then we're gonna maybe look at what our options are next year, rather than be like, who gives a fuck if that guy is there at number 2 or whatever the spot might be. Go out there and draft him. You see what a guy like Xavier Worthy could do. Sure, he was all pretty much it was all about his speed. But it doesn't matter. The kid can take a fucking top off, and then he can also catch a ball when he needs to. Had a couple really good games there. It's just like type of game-changing receiver. And perhaps the Cowboys have something like that, but we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I'd rather the Cowboys use a 4th-round pick and move up in the 3rd round a few spots and get someone they liked in the 3rd round than these flyers on players. I think we also all have just a bad taste in our mouth. We wasted a 4th-round pick on Trey Lance, like EJ brought up earlier in the show. It would have made sense if they were trying to use Trey Lance to then use him as some sort of trade bait or anything.
Or Band-Aid QB if they felt,
Yeah, at all. So, and then we go and we trade another 4th round pick for Mingo in kind of a wasted season where last year we could have drafted Bucky Irving with the 4th pick. We could have drafted Braylon Allen with the 4th pick. Like there was dudes that would have instantly helped out the Dallas Cowboys from week 1 of this season, but instead they had Trey Lance sit on the bench for a full year. I just don't want that to repeat with Mingo. And I think Mingo has a better chance to pan out and help on the team than Trey Lance did, but it's still the waiver is still out on that.
I don't want that. And this is the move that the Cowboys do, that the front office will do, is they'll use that as the excuse as to why they didn't make a move on a wide receiver who maybe coming into the league had the kind of the same scouting report, except for we've seen what Mingo did. He didn't really jump off the page in the NFL yet. Still has a long career potentially ahead of him. But for me, I'm always like, okay, if that doesn't happen, then I'd rather take the chance on this other guy who, if he's going to be the same as Mingo, okay, so be it. But if his ceiling is just, the potential is higher there. I mean, look what fucking Neighbors did in New York. Now, mind you, he was a top wide receiver.
Neighbors was
6 overall
I was so
pick.
close to putting Neighbors as my wide receiver 1. He's that good.
There was a lot of people that did have Neighbors ahead of Marvin Harrison. There was, and some people said they were crazy, but the guy's talented.
Yeah, he just needs.
In hindsight, he definitely
just needs a football team.
He can just win more ways than Marvin Harrison Jr. can.
But
He's a worse quarterback. So
it wasn't necessarily a fair comparison, like Ant mentioned, but I just mean they're
Mingo and Neighbors. I mean, pretty spot.
No, not that. I meant with the 12th pick and the 6th. Like if the wide receiver's there, if there's a wide receiver like that in the first round, look how that can also ignite an offense.
Yeah, for sure.
People always bring up the Michigan kids for the Cowboys, like we're out on Michigan kids. I'm out on Ole Miss wide receivers. Don't show me one. The last ones that were good was AJ Brown and DK Metcalf. How long ago was that? You know what I mean? So I'm like, nah. So there's another one coming up. Trey Harris is probably going to get a couple people on his side. He's a top 3 wide receiver in the class. I don't see it with him, but beside the point.
What do you mean? DK Metcalf was just drafted 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, that's how fast
time feels. That's how time feels.
That's how time feels. It's like I've only had Metcalf on my fantasy team. Wait a sec, he's been in the league for 7 years now.
Yeah, I know.
It is crazy.
He's still a rookie to me. Damn it.